Well, hey again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder on Saturday, July 1st, 2023. Hey, in 6 more days, it'll be 777. Hope that's lucky numbers, Lord. Amen. But today, notice of default. Part 1. There'll probably be more than one part to this. Or is it really a simulated legal process? And then based on that, seeking legislative relief. And I am Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Ratlewski, U.S. Army veteran, also known as Rob Ryder. My email address is courtofrecord@aol.com, and my YouTube channel is Rob Ryder with 3 B's, ROBBBRYDER. So why am I doing this? Well, I get emails all the time. People always have problems. Send me emails. Can you look at this? Can you help me with this? Phone calls. Goes on and on and on. But what I hadn't done for quite some time is, looked at foreclosure type paperwork, because I was done trying to go to the Black Robe priest to try to get relief because of what I had learned the Supreme Court had said back in 1984, where they had basically said that the executive branch, right? So the executive branch gets to decide in court what the law means instead of the judge, right? That they get to interpret the law. So if you go to court and your adversary gets to interpret the law, then there's no way you're going to win, because when you look at the law, they'll have maybe the statement made and 4 or 5 choices, and the administrative department or the executive branch has decided, well, it means A. So it can't mean B, C, D, E, even if one of those choices is better for you. No, it means A. That's what we've decided. We've interpreted the law for Congress. All right, well, is that really what Congress intended? Well, you can't go to the judge and ask them, because they've already decided, well, we're going to go with whatever the executive branch says. So 2 of the 3 branches are already against you, and that just leaves the legislative branch. Well, under the First Amendment, you have one of your First Amendment rights is the right to petition the government for the redress of grievances, which I had always assumed it was going to the court, to do a petition, because they do petitions, but it doesn't need to be. It could be, well, you go petition your state representative or your congressional district representative, right? And we're not going to get into this video, but if you go look at, I think it's Section 8 of Article 1, all the powers of Congress, well, those are all things that Congress can do, right? And it's quite a healthy list of things, such as they get to define what an offense of the law of nations is, right? They get to call out the militia. They get to assume any office in the government. Go read the very last half of the sentence of all the powers they have in 8, and you'll see it's like this catch-all phrase for everything else, where basically your congressman can assume any office and the powers that go with it. Now, none of these people who say that they're the Congress are, because they didn't take a proper oath of office. Right? 1 Stat 23 talked about time again. But, so that's fine. Well, can they still make these other people do shit they're supposed to? Right? Can they still enforce the Constitution and the laws of the state? Because as I'm going to show you, when you go look at something like a notice of default that you get, and it could just be foreclosure paperwork or, car loan shit, it doesn't really matter what it is. Whatever they send you to say, hey, we're going to take you to court, or hey, you are in court, or whatever the story is, at your particular time, it's time to look at that paper, right? Find something wrong with it, legally wrong with it, and maybe take it to your state legislature and say, hey, this is going on. Right? They're not following your laws that you wrote. Is this what you intended them to do? And see if they'll do something. Because Sir William Blackstone, right, in his Blackstone's Commentaries and Laws of England and Wales, says that the highest court in the land is a legislative court, because only the legislature can make a law or rescind a law. Right? So, going to your district representative, and if you haven't, well, that's what I want to try. And I can't say I've never sent something to them before, but I didn't really say, hey, this is what they're doing, right? And I need you to do something about it, right? Didn't petition for the redress of grievances. And that's what I'm talking about now, petitioning for the redress of grievances. Based on the shit you're going to find wrong on this paperwork, is, as I'm going to show you, it's just all over the place, right? They don't hide it. Everything they do has errors in it, errors and omissions. And because of that, you should be able to collect on their liability insurance, because it's an intentional tort, right? They did it on purpose. They know what they're doing. Right? These are esquires. They're learned in the law. They don't have an excuse. Yet, here we are, right? So, what I'm going to show is a notice of default for non-judicial foreclosure in California. It happens to be on some vacant land, right? But like I said, this could be almost anything that you might get some kind of process served on you that that you need to deal with. And that's what we're going to look at as well. How about we try to deal with it different than always going to court? Now, the things I'm going to show you are wrong anyway. So if you want to still try to take it to court, well, then have at it. That's up to you. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm done with that. But the errors I'm going to show you are there, and they're easy enough to see. And so, this is the kinds of things I'd try to base my arguments on. So without any further ado, let me load some things up and we'll get at it. Hang on a second. Just a few little bits of information. So that Chevron case, right, was Chevron USA Incorporated versus NRDC, which is Natural Resource Defense Council, right, 1984. And in that case, the Supreme Court decided that the executive branch gets to determine what their rules mean, right? Because they work under the CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, right? That's what the executive branch is supposed to be working under, apparently. So they get to decide what that stuff is that's been written in there. And if they don't like it, they just go change it and make it work for them. And, this court can't, as long as it's reasonable, which one of those words is never defined, they can continue doing it. All right. And then, because I'm going to show all these things that are wrong with the paperwork, and, that may at some point land you in court, or you're already in court because you have this paperwork, you really don't even need to go look for all these errors as far as I'm concerned, right? Until you've tried this other thing first, which is that in the United States Code, under Title IV, right, in Section 101, it's oath by members of the legislature and officers. Right? So this is a federal law that says every member of the state legislature and every executive and judicial officer of the state shall, before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office, take an oath in the following form. To wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States. Right? And then Section 102 says that after that's done, they got to make a copy of it, or, well, I'll just read it. Such oath may be administered by any person who, by the law of the state, is authorized to administer an oath of office. So like a notary public could do it, except for certain officers. Notary public can do it. And the person so administering such oath shall cause a record or certificate thereof to be made in the same manner as by law of the state he is directed to record or certify the oath of office. So they got to have a copy of it. They got to be able to prove they took the oath. If they can't prove they took the oath, then they can't enforce any laws, right? They can't execute the duties of their office. So if they try to do it, well, then they're, impersonating a public officer, which is perfidy, which is my new favorite word, because perfidy means violating faith, a promise, a vow, allegiance, treachery, a violation of trust proposed, right? Not applied, violation of contracts and ordinary pecuniary transactions, but to violations of faith and trust in friendship and agency and office in allegiance, engagements, and transactions of kings. Well, perfidy is a violation of the law of nations, and Congress can enforce the law of nations. All right, so, that's what I said. I'll just call it perfidy, right? It's an act of bad faith. If the man sitting up there in the black robe or woman didn't take this oath, and now they're going to decide the fate of you, your liberty, or your property. Well, no, I want to question that. Right? So, so let's say you're in a state court, you're in this is a traffic ticket issue, foreclosure issues, in the district court, lower court, doesn't matter, or the circuit court, doesn't matter, any of them. None of those judges have taken this oath. Right? So I suggest you write to your state representative for whatever district you're in and tell them, look, I'm involved in this situation in whatever the county is you're in. Here's the court case number. And the judge in that case hasn't taken the oath to satisfy federal law, and therefore he's impersonating an officer. And see what they say. Right? This is the point. I haven't done it yet. I mean, just getting started doing these things. So I haven't really done it yet. In a few weeks, I'll have a better answer. But that would be the simple thing to do. Forget all the other bullshit. Just say the guy making the decision doesn't have the power to do it because he didn't take this oath. Right? That the plaintiff has brought it to the wrong jurisdiction because this judge doesn't have that oath. When he brings it to a judge that has this oath, well, then he could say that you had done whatever it is they're trying to claim that you did. But until then, you don't have to answer. Well, if you take that argument to court, well, it ain't going to work. And in that court, you got the judicial branch and the executive branch, right? But not the legislative. They're, over here on this other side. So take it to the third branch of government and see what they do with it. That's my plan. All righty. So, okay, hang on again. And a lot of that legislative stuff I talked about in my last video, Separation of Powers Restoration Act. If you're interested in all the details, but you don't have to be, right? All you need to know is, for what I'm doing now is, well, this is wrong. I'm going to go complain to the legislature instead of going to court with it. That's all I'm saying. Take your complaint somewhere else. Petition. Petition the government for the redress of grievances in accordance with the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. But it's not my intention in this video to get to that point of, what I'm going to write to send to the representative. Right now, it's just looking at what's happened. All right, you got mail that came in. And so Eric, I believe, is the gentleman's name. Yeah, it's Eric. He got this notice of default and election to sell under deed of trust. Right? And assuming that it's a notice of default. Well, we could say right from the beginning, well, it really isn't. It's a notice of default and something else. So it's not a notice of default by itself, because if it was, it'd just say notice of default. And if you watched my videos long enough, you know that I'll go through this and tear it off. There'd be all sorts of shit wrong. Just, it's just all over the place. Check. And that's what I'm going to do now. We're going to be checking off, looking for shit that's wrong, looking for things that don't match between different documents and this and that and the other thing, and, and see what's going on. So, but this notice of default goes with about this grant deed. So this is the deed for the property that the notice default's on. And this is the, what we call short form, deed of trust and assignments of rents for the property that we're talking about. But that isn't the only documents that, go to your property necessarily. If you want to have a complete picture of what's going on, you really need to go to your county website, right? So I think I put in here Humboldt for a search in Google, Humboldt County Official Records. Add it up on the county's website, which is normally how it works. And they're all a little bit different. You're going to have to figure out how to get to yours, right? But here's search self-service. Yeah, you go there. And tick. How come we're back to where we started at? Okay, I accept. And official records. Right, because they got marriage licenses. Well, I'm not looking for that. And right now we're not looking for clerk filing search. Well, it's interesting. You can look up notary oaths in here. That can be interesting to look at. But hey, there's lots to look at. Let's narrow the field, and we'll just look under official records, and we'll go do a name search, and we'll type in the name Dorico, D-O-R-I-C-K-O, I believe it is, D-O-R-I-C-K-O, Dorico Eric, and hit a search. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of different documents that some of which have something to do with this particular court case. I don't know that they all do. I'm just saying this is where they would all be listed. All right, but there's a number of deeds of trust, assignment of a deed, power to sell, notice of something maybe. All right, got notice of default. Yeah, NT has notice of default. And trustee's deed, you know, so forth and so on. So you may have to go and get more copies of different documents to get the entire picture. Right? That's what I'm saying. But with just a few things, you may have enough, because I'm not saying you have to find everything that's wrong. Just find something wrong and take it to the frickin' legislature and let them figure it out. And that could be enough on its own to get whoever it is to stop. All right, so this is what they look like when you first see them, and now we're going to get out our colors, our highlighters, and we're going to go look for some stuff and see what we get. So give me just a second to get one loaded up to show you. Oh, a couple other details to get us going. Because you'll see that we're talking about the California Civil Code, right? That would be another thing you're going to want to find, which is as simple as putting in California Civil Code and searching on it, and, well, my gosh, there it is. And then it has all these different sections here, right? So these sections comply or correspond to what's being used on the documentation that we'll be looking at. So again, this is getting way down into the weeds when we start reading all the law, right? My point is you don't even need to know all that stuff, right? We're going to find the easy shit that's wrong and make that our issue, and you know, forget the fact that and then they said about the law, because they're not following the law anyways. So this is one thing you're going to want. And then another one is, depending on what state it is, obviously, right? California business search, right? So like in most states, you can put in such a statement and end up by looking at the different links. Maybe the Secretary of State's website or someplace else where you can put in the name of a company and find out if it even exists. Right? And if it doesn't exist, well, what do? You write to your legislature. So I'm being sued by some company that doesn't even exist. Right? Don't take it to the Secretary of State, because that's the executive branch, and they've decided, well, we think the law means this. And, you know, they're going to continue on and let them do whatever that is they're doing. And I think that by the time I'm done, I'm going to show you that really the answer to Eric's problem, Eric, it's on these two documents right here. So it's, you know, it'll be plain as day as soon as I show them to you. Right? That between this nod, which this isn't a nod, right? It's a simulated legal process claiming to be a nod, but it isn't a nod. And this short form deed of trust, between them have an answer that you could just end up asking to reconvey the property. We'll get into that in a minute. So anyways, here we go. It looks like this to start with, and after you pull your marker out, it starts to look like this. Right, where you start looking for all the little different things it might be. And so, for instance, foreclosure specialist, right? That's where, when this thing was recorded, I guess we should start on the right-hand side. So this is the recording done electronically. And it's recorded in Humboldt County, California, by the Humboldt Land Title, Eureka, California. Well, guess what? They're not registered with the SOS. There is no such thing. Right? Humboldt Land Title, Humboldt. Yeah, Humboldt land title. And let's go take a look. Humboldt land title. Guess I got to get this off of here a little bit. Click on it, and it says, well, by gosh, it's terminated. There used to be a Humboldt land title company back in the day, but it's been terminated. All right, so there is no Humboldt land title registered with Secretary of State. So whoever it is that's claiming to do this filing, isn't a legal entity that can do the filing. All right, so it didn't take long to find something wrong. Well, guess what? Then they wanted to have it recorded, and then when recorded, mailed to foreclosure specialist. Well, they don't exist either. They've been terminated. Now, this APN number, come to find out, this is like your assessment number. It's actually supposed to be 12 digits with after the 009, then dash 000 or whatever goes into those 000. But this is an incomplete number. Right, but it says we're going to be doing stuff, and, well, we didn't have to comply with this civil code section because the loan was secured by vacant land. Okay, well, then we should probably look and see what, this section has to say why would they put that on there and say it, but, that's what they said. And it goes through all the stuff, so, they're having their say, and I wasn't spending time on what they had to say to start with. I was looking at all the, the errors and omissions about who people are and so forth. So, so the name of the beneficiary, I think this is talking about the deed of trust now, right? It is this K&L logging. I don't know if they have all the commas proper. I guess I didn't get that deep into it, but there is no foreclosure specialist, so they can't be their agent, although that's what they're claiming to be. And you may lose legal rights if you do not take prompt action. All right, notice hereby given that Fidelity National Title Company of California, a California corporation, is duly appointed trustee under the deed of trust, executed by Eric, an unmarried man, as trustor. See, so this whole thing right here, Eric P. Dorico, comma, an unmarried man is the trustor. It isn't some man in his full legal name. It's this entity they made up called Eric P. Dorico, this legal fiction. Eric P. Dorico, comma, an unmarried man is the complete name of the trustor. Well, he doesn't exist. So I talked before, well, okay, in that case, go and take that name there and go to the Secretary of State or wherever you need to go and claim it. Claim that name, right, that you're doing business under that name and you're claiming it. Or claim the name of Humboldt County, whatever this thing was. What is it here? A Humboldt land title. Since they're not registered, well, claim the name and say you're the one that did it. Or claim foreclosure specialist and say you're the one that did it. And you've changed your mind. You don't want to do this anymore, right? Because right now nobody owns these names, right? They're just out there with documentation attached to them that really doesn't have an owner. But if you start claiming and say, well, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, well, who knows where that could go? I've not tried it myself. I'm just saying that's something you could do because the name could be claimed. They're not owned by anybody else. And then it goes on to say they're a beneficiary on this particular document, official records, recorder, Humboldt County, California. Now, you see Humboldt County. Eventually, we're going to start seeing County of Humboldt, State of California, instead of Humboldt County, California. And they do that in every county. They do it in your county. Doesn't matter where you are. You have like here, we have Kent County, Michigan, and we also have County of Kent, State of Michigan. Well, obviously, they're not the same jurisdiction, right? They may be the same territory, right? Same boundary, but it's not the same jurisdiction within the boundary. And I say that has to do going all the way back to the Treaty of Peace of 1783, where basically the United States of America and United States of America were going to coexist in the United States. All right, the United States of America was the confederation created under the Articles of Confederation, and United States of America is a uh, dominion of King George III and his successors. And not everybody during the Revolutionary War wanted to leave England, right? Most people wanted to stay with England. A small percentage were involved in the Revolution. So as the Treaty of Peace, they said, well, we got to have some way to coexist, and this is what they came up with, the Treaty of Peace. Okay, so there's two jurisdictions within every jurisdiction, and we've been shanghaied out of the republic jurisdiction and put into the democracy jurisdiction under King George III and his successors, and esquires are crown agents, right? So the republic has been invaded by esquires, crown agents of the democracy. So, we just need somebody to agree, well, we're not in your jurisdiction, right? You didn't take this oath of office, and I'm not in your jurisdiction. Da-da-da-da. Okay, so, and then we get down to this declaration of beneficiary pursuant to Civil Code 2923.5. And you start reading it, so what is this thing about? Right? Here's all the information that's been carried forward. We put an X here, that the requirements of this particular code do not apply because the loan is not secured by a first mortgage or deed of trust that secures a loan or that encumbers real property described in the Civil Code 2924.15a. So whoever put this in is telling you that what we're claiming has nothing to do with a first mortgage or a deed of trust or anything that would encumber property, real property. It's, they're using this to try to convince you that they're going to take your property and somehow, through the magic of esquirehood, come up with an answer, get everybody to shake their head the same way and, forget they filled out some box wrong. And, they're willing to commit an act of perfidy, right? Bad faith to take your property from you. It's really that simple, right? They're children of the devil. They lie, cheat, and steal. Everything they do. Every document they put in, just lie, cheat, and steal. Here's an example. Right? Somebody who has no fucking claim at all to your property says notice it could be sold. Right? And then it says, if your property is in foreclosure, well, is it or not? Right? These are the people who are supposed to be, foreclosing on you. They can't even tell you if you're in foreclosure or not. It may be sold without any court action. Well, that's what they do in California. They have non-judicial foreclosures. Not that this has anything to do with that, but they're trying to get you to assume that that's what it has to do with. Because it got you to believe that you owe this money, and I'm telling you, on any real estate transaction, you, as a borrower, and the bank never sign a contract. If you've never done any contracting before, you need to know, well, you can't do that. I used to sell really high dollar printing presses back in the day. And look at it, it wasn't a deal until both parties signed a contract. Right? It was all talk. It was all a whole bunch of talk until you got the printer to sign the contract. And of course, I was signing for my side, so it was my job. I got to get the dude to sign the contract. If I could get them to sign the contract, well, I could get short-term financing to get the machine across the ocean from Europe, I guess, normally. Go through all that. But I couldn't do a damn thing until the printer signed a contract. Well, the bank never signed a contract with you. They never lent you any money, and this is all a scheme. And you can tell it's a scheme by the errors they put in their paperwork. So this is a place to start on this one. And like I said, it's not the only document. Let's go look at these other documents that have something to do with this, which would be the deed of trust and the grant deed or warranty deed, as they call it here. So hang on. Alrighty now then. So let's start with the grant deed. Now, if we look immediately, we say, okay, well, apparently this is the recording number. Right? As you see, I highlighted the 3 because when you go back and you look at what it says, here's the deed, right? It doesn't have another set of numbers. It just has these two set of numbers. And then if you clicked on these, so you can click on these and it goes like that, right? So these first two documents we're going to look at, which is the deed of trust and the deed, are here at the bottom. And when you click on these to view, you got this little thing here that says that there's no recording fee. It's like this thing has never been recorded, right? The thing without the dash number. This number here has not been recorded. So right away we got something that's fishy. Fishy, fishy, fishy. Well, that's the way both of these are. So the deed of trust we're going to look at. And the deed are the same way. Right? No recording fee. Total of fees, 0. It was never paid for. This document was never filed. Or filed for record, maybe the proper term. It wasn't indexed. It's not in the book. Okay, well, let's go look now and see what these documents say that aren't in the book. Right? Recorded in official records, Humboldt County. Right? Recorded by Fidelity National Title Co. Co. When done, they want it sent to Fidelity National Title Company of California, which does exist, but Fidelity National Title Co. does not exist. But there is one of these, Fidelity National Title Company of California. And there's also a Fidelity National Title Insurance Company of California, as will be seen. But this is the person that's acting as the, as we'll see, is acting as the trustee in this deal. All right, there's that APN number again. It doesn't have the 000. And again, it's a 12-digit number for your assessor stuff. All right, this is how the county of Humboldt, right now it's not, well, look at that. County of Humboldt here, Humboldt County here. Go figure, look at that. How can they do that? It's like mixing jurisdictions. But they have a 12-digit number. But that's not on the paper. Right? So obviously this isn't the property they're talking about because the assessor didn't make a mistake. It's a 12-digit number. He knows exactly what it is. But that isn't what's on the paper. Right? Should be 12 digits. Okay, so we have a document with a -3 that says it's been recorded, but really it should just have this first part up to 11/8/74. That's the real document that's, has not been recorded. The documentary tax was collected. All right, so that's what it costs to have the state actually transfer the title to you. That's like that's like paying for your revenue stamp. Which in Michigan, you actually pay for it. They put the damn thing on your deed, but they don't cancel it. It's just like, it's not just like a postage stamp, but it's done similarly where they're supposed to cancel it. In fact, they have a machine that punches holes in it to cancel the stamp. They don't ever do it. Oh, here we go. Where's the property, right? It's in Humboldt County, state of California. So, or County of Humboldt, state of California. So Humboldt County, California is saying that Eric bought some property in County of Humboldt, state of California. Well, no, he bought it in Humboldt County, California. That's where the property is. It's not in King George's jurisdiction, right? It's in the jurisdiction of the Republic. Done by a county of, right? County of Humboldt. State of California, by a guy from Humboldt County, California. Just seems a little bit messed up, sir. Is this really what the legislature intended? That we'd have a California all-purpose certificate of acknowledgement for the state of California, County of Shasta, but the guy that's going to act as a notary is from California, Shasta County. Well, he doesn't have any fucking jurisdiction in state of California, County of Shasta, right? It's a different jurisdiction. So forth and so on. And grant deed. So this is, this is the property that we're talking about. Now this is the deed of trust that was supposed to encumber that property until, the deed or the note was paid off, or the loan was paid off, or the indebtedness is paid off, or whatever they used. And here we are again, right? We got that extra digit. Because 2011-11875, according to the records of Humboldt County Clerk-Register, has not been recorded. Right? These were recorded by these people. It's like they have their own freaking, their own account at the county recorder's office. Right? And they put this in their book. But it's not in the official records. This is not in the official records of Humboldt County. These are the official records of Humboldt County, and it shows it's not been recorded. Right? Without the dashes on it. So you already got things you could say, well, I'm going to stop right now and write my representative and say, hey, we got a problem here. You need to come look at this. I need your help. I'm petitioning the government redress of grievances. But we're just really getting started. I mean, there's gads of things wrong. We're not quite on you yet. Okay, so then we have, here we go, right, this deed of trust, called a short form. Now, the thing about a short form deed of trust is if you have a short form deed of trust, then somewhere in the county records is supposed to be filed a thing they called the fictitious long form deed of trust or fictitious deed of trust, which is basically a long form of this with all the boilerplate in it that they didn't want to put into this because you got to pay per page to have stuff recorded. Excuse me. So they don't have to have so many pages recorded this way. That's their excuse. And so we got Eric P. DeRico, an unmarried man. All right, that's the name of the trustor. That's his address. And then we got Fidelity National Company of California, California Corporation is the trustee. Right? That's not their name. Their name is not a California corporation. There's no such thing. Right? This thing in green doesn't exist. This first part here, that does exist. There is a Fidelity National Title Company of California. But, it's not a California corporation. It's not part of its name. And then we have Cal Logging, Inc., a California corporation. Again, that's not its name. I didn't go look to see if K&L Logging existed or not, because this was from 2011. And, technically they're not even involved anymore. They gave up their interest in it. Okay, grants and assigns, so forth and so on. And then it goes on that to protect the security of this deed, the trustor agrees by the execution and delivery of this deed of trust and the note secured hereby. Delivery to who, right? It doesn't really say. That the provisions 1 through 14, inclusive of a fictitious deed of trust recorded in Santa Barbara County, Sonoma County on October 18th, 1961. All other counties October 23rd, 1961. And the book and page on the official records, right? In the book at the page of official records. So book and page go to official records, apparently. Not necessarily that long-ass document number they're talking about. Right? We're talking about official records. But anyway, so then, in Humboldt, on book 657, page 527, should be the first page of this fictitious deed of trust we're talking about, which has all the rest of the boilerplate 1 through 14 that they want to include in this as part of this deed of trust. And, this can all be done. It's all written in the law that they could do this. So let's take a look at this. And so this is what they're talking about. Right? But you can see this one had no instrument number on the top like the other one. It's got a volume and a page in there. Okay, well, the other ones don't have that. All right, there's no volume and page on that. There's just this instrument number of some kind. And I'm only guessing that's an instrument number. They don't really say what it is. It's just a number on a piece of paper. Right, and they had to say that it's fictitious, and this fictitious one was for the title insurance and trust company. Well, they're not doing this anymore. Right, that company's long out of business. But they do have this section here with these 1 through 14 they're talking about, and then it goes down here and it has this rest here that for reconveyance, so forth and so on. Oh, okay, that's all interesting. A little bit hard to read on this one. Let's go back to this other one. Because this is where I think what Eric should do. Right. Other than going for relief to his representative. Right, because we had seen that in this notice of default that they said way back here that whatever there is they're asking for does not apply. The loan is not secured by a first mortgage or first deed of trust that secures a loan or that encumbers real property described in the civil code, So if that's the case, then he should ask for full reconveyance. He should fill this out and mail it to the Fidelity National Title Company of California, right, which does have a proper address and so forth. They're easy enough to find. And do whatever it says and tell them you want to have it reconveyed. Right? Because you have proof that who's ever asking for money says it has nothing to do with this deed of trust or a deed of trust. So send it in, say it's been done, and if they don't agree, well, they can send it back and tell you why they don't agree. But at least then they would have to answer you and give you some kind of reason. Right? The undersigned is the legal owner and holder of all indebtedness secured by the deed of trust. So, who's the legal owner of Eric P. Dorico, unmarried man? Well, it would be whoever goes and claims that name. It said, that's the name I'm doing business under. And my full legal name is, fill the form out, use your full legal name with proper address, so you're the owner of this entity that was doing business. Therefore, you are now qualified to say that you're the legal owner and holder of all indebtedness secured by the deed of trust. They're saying that you're responsible for the indebtedness. Now, we don't have the note. Who does have the note is probably the trustee. So, again, that's something to try. Or the state rep say, this is all messed up. It's way past my wanting to figure it out. I want you to figure it out and explain it to me. I'm just simply pointing out that because it says what it says, well, if it was me, I'd go ahead and fill it out and send it in and see what the title company comes back with. What's their story going to be? So let's take a minute and read this whole thing because, I think that any debt that is yet to be paid is in this part right here, right? That somebody needs to pay to have the full reconveyance recorded. And the only one that can do the recording of the full reconveyance is the trustee, because they're required to do the reconveyance. So you would have to pay the trustee the fee for recording the document. So the undersigned is the legal owner and holder of all indebtedness secured by the within deed of trust. All sums secured by said deed of trust have been fully paid and satisfied, and you are hereby requested and directed on payment to you of any sums owing to you under the terms of said deed of trust to cancel all evidence of indebtedness secured by said deed of trust, delivered to you herewith together with said deed of trust, and to reconvey without warranty to parties designated by the terms of said deed of trust all the estate now held by you under the same. Okay, so, sounds to me like you got to send them the payment. All right? Have been fully paid and satisfied, and you are hereby requested and directed on payment to you of any sums owing to you under the terms of said deed of trust to cancel. All right, so maybe they send you an invoice, right? You fill this out, send them an invoice, and they can send you a reconveyance after they get it recorded. It's like $75 to record a reconveyance. Let's look at that form real quick. Yeah, it's a short one-page form, right? Full reconveyance. So the trustee, right? Blank, a corporation as trustee under deed of trust dated some date, made by blank, recorded as instrument number blank on blank, 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 right? County recorder of blank county, right? Not county of blank, but Humboldt County, not county of Humboldt, California, right? So recorded there in that jurisdiction, but as we saw before, they want to say that the property is in a different jurisdiction. Well, that seems to be wrong. Anyways, you want to have full reconveyance. Does hereby reconvey without warranty to the person legally entitled to the estate now held by it thereunder. And this is what they, that the trustee has to fill out, have recorded, and have sent to you as the owner. Here's something interesting I just happened to notice as I was going back through these papers, that if you look at foreclosure specialist, it's been terminated. Look at their P.O. Box, 994465, which is actually just like the last 6 digits of a 9-digit zip code, right? The zip code with a +4, 994465. So if you can do that, then like for myself, my +4 is 493418664. Then my PO box would be 418664. I'm going to have to try to mail something to me that way one time and see if it gets to me, because that would give you your PO box instead of using your street address. Right? This would put you back into the post office now instead of out there in some corporate or contract rural route. Right now, you'd have appeared back in the post office, which it's got the gold fringe flag, and it is the United States, and so forth and so on. And so now you would be a resident of the United States again. Very cool. And then what I wanted to show was foreclosure specialist terminated. So I had a document because I had looked them up. All right, this is again from the Secretary of State's website, where I put in foreclosure specialist, and then wherever it comes up, it's supposed to be in here, right, or something close to it. So, foreclosure specialist. Well, that one's been suspended. Foreclosure specialist, that one's been terminated. Here's one that's active. But this one is not in the same town as like this foreclosure specialist LLC. This was in the same town, using the same address as this other one I just showed you. Where the hell they are at? They're in the nod. Right? So the one in Reading has been terminated. Now, are they acting now like they're actually this other one? I had too many papers open. Right? Are they actually saying that they're this other one, Foreclosure Specialist Incorporated? I'm going to have to look at that a little bit closer, figure out what's going on there. But, it had to be one of those three. So which one are you? Who's the one claiming my property? And I guess one last thing I'd say is that, you know, you get your deed of trust, you find out who's asked to have it recorded. They have the escrow package. They have the title information. You should ask them for a copy of all these things that are listed right here, right? You want your copy of these things right here. Because I did this with Bob out in Arizona years ago, where we asked for I think they called the escrow file, right? And it's got, I don't know, 200 pages of stuff that most people had never seen before. That go on, with that big package of paper that you sign, all the shit you're signing when you're buying property. Well, they have a copy of it. And, you really don't know what it says. Now, some people may have theirs and can find every document, but it's what do they have? Because everything is based on what they have in their file, not what you have in your file. We need to see what they're using. Right? So you contact Fidelity National Title Company, California, say, I want a copy of the escrow file for escrow number, locate number, title number. Because the whole thing about this is that from the very first payment that you made, it goes into escrow. It never goes to pay off a loan because you didn't sign a contract. Right? And so the reason it goes into escrow is for that reason. The contract hasn't been completed, and so good faith payments go to escrow until the contract's completed. But the contract never gets completed, and so you keep putting money into escrow. And one of the things that goes into escrow are the rents you're paying because you're occupying the property before the deal got done. So now your payment's going to be seen as rent instead of seen as a payment on the loan. And now somebody wants to assign those rents. That's the whole idea now. Now somebody wants to collect all that money you've been paying for something you never had a loan on in the first place. You've just been putting it in this escrow account. That's all your money in the escrow account because they never did the deal. And that has nothing at all to do with the land because the guys that wrote this damn thing said that what they're after has nothing to do with the deed of trust that encumbers real property. Right? So this deed of trust doesn't encumber real property because this is the one they're after. Because they want to claim the escrow. They want to claim the money. It's your money. Claim it. Right? So this is where we are. So exactly what I would write to them, I don't know. I just had to figure that out. But I just know that, they're just, this wasn't recorded by a book and page. This is recorded by Fidelity National Title Company. Instead of, what's this one say? It's got a different statement down, right? It says, recorded at request of. So these people were requesting it be recorded into the official record. Where these are being recorded into somebody's, the official records of Fidelity National Title Company, but not necessarily the official records of Humboldt County. Because when we looked at the other page for, where they list all this stuff, it's not been recorded yet. Right? This has not been recorded. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all, simulated legal process under color of law by people that are going to be impersonating public officers. Right? All acts of perfidy, PERFIDY, which is an offense of the law of nations. Let's really quick just look at some of these powers that Congress has. Hang on. All right, the powers of Congress. Of course, we got coin money, regulate commerce, so forth and so on. I mean, these are all in here. But, all right, provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current currency of the United States. Well, what is a security of the United States? Right, security is when you transform from one negotiable instrument to another. Right, so like a stock is a security. Right? Well, so is your note. It's a security. All these things are securities, and they've been counterfeited. So there's something you could get them for. All right, there's a post office. That's why you'd want to be seen in the post office, because that's where they have jurisdiction over. Constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. Well, excellent. They can constitute a court-martial court. Right? It doesn't have to be a black robe priest court. They can do a military court. To define and punish piracy and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations. Right? They can define and punish offenses against the law of nations. Well, perfidy is written all over in the Law of Nations. Law of Nations is a book. You can go find it. You do Law of Nations, right? Find it. Do a word search on perfidy. It's all over in there, right? It's like the worst thing you can do as far as Law of Nations is concerned is to commit an act of perfidy, right? An act of bad faith within your own government. They get to declare war, sure, raise armies, provide and maintain the Navy, rules of government, regulation for the land and naval forces, provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repeal evasions. Well, that's what we need them to do. Now, this is at the federal level. What we're talking about now is a state issue, right? So maybe the thing is to take it to the state first, right? To use the chain of command, start local, go to the state. Because our problems are local, in the local government. Right? That's what this shit's like the county, right? They're pretending to be the local government. And by doing so, and nobody having a proper oath of office, we've been denied a Republican form of government guaranteed by the 4th article of the Constitution of the United States. Well, your state representative has a duty to enforce the Constitution in his district, regardless if he's a state representative or the congressional representative. It's just the difference is the state guy has many less people to take care of than the guy in D.C. And I know none of these people have proper oath of office. That's okay, as long as they can still make the people below them who don't have a proper oath of office follow the fucking law, which is what they're not doing. And if the law says you want to be a state officer, you got to take this oath, then for that judge to be a state officer, he need to take the oath. If he didn't take the oath, then I don't have to answer to him because he can't enforce the state law. That's how it should work. And we'll find out soon enough. And I'm just, there's a reason this is a part 1, because I don't believe that, it can be done with less than a few parts. I wanted to get a lot of this generalized stuff out of the way now and get down to, okay, take these things here and write a couple paragraphs and send it to your state rep and see what they say. Right? That's my plan. If you want to use the same information for trying to do something in court, well, be my guest. It's still wrong, right? There's nothing on there that shows that it's wrong. And as I showed, the relief may already be in it. Just contact the trustee and tell him you want to have full reconveyance. Let's see what they say. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. You all have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. And remember that 777 is right around the corner. All right. See you now.